flip. This has been recording. Hey y'all, this is AJ with Blackhawk Bushcraft, and it is a beautiful day today. Got done with some yard work. Now just kind of sitting out here chilling in my backyard underneath one of these big honey locust trees. And I figured, maybe I'll just go ahead and put out another little video talking about something that hopefully, why is it so hard to make these videos? Why can't I ever think about what to say once the camera's rolling? So I thought I'd put out another video and talk about something that may interest all of you. It has to do with knives, but not just knives, but affordability. I'm not gonna lie, those of you that know me know that my preferred go-to bushcraft knives are knives like this. This is a Rob Evans bush tool. Very wonderful tool, exceptional blade, but does come with a little bit of a higher price tag than other knives. That being said, I think they're worth every freaking penny for what you get in a handcrafted tool like this. However, there are also other great offerings depending on your budget and what you're wanting to do, where you don't need to spend a whole lot of money to get a really good product. And so I want to kind of talk about that. I'm going to share some of the knives that I have in my lineup that I've had for quite some time. Those of you that are into knives, some of these are not going to be at all unfamiliar. So the first one is just a simple little Mora Companion. This one actually is one of the old versions. I've had this for a number of years. I picked this up online, I think, for something like 10, 11 bucks from Ragweed Forge. Yeah, Ragweed Forge. Say that 10 times fast. Moras are a great little option for utility and bushcraft work. This is a thinner blade. I'm not exactly sure how thin this is, probably around 2 millimeters. Or for those of you that get really frustrated with the really difficult metric system, we'll use something easier in the standard system. So this is probably something like 11/92. No, 11/31. I have no idea. Anyways, it's a thinner blade, but these little knives work great. They come in a simple plastic sheath. I always put mine on a little dangler. I do not like wearing these on a belt. They work great as a little neck knife. And as you can see, this little sucker is tried and true. Takes a pretty good edge. This is carbon steel. So yeah, for 11 bucks. Now I think you can get these now. They're not gonna be quite as inexpensive, but you're still sub $20, even sometimes depending on where you're getting them, like around 16 bucks. And then they also now have like the Mora Companion Robust, which is 1/8 of an inch thick with a 90-degree spine. This one does not have a 90-degree spine on it, but it's still a great little knife. You don't really need a 90-degree spine. It helps if you're wanting to like scrape and process and strike a ferro rod, but you really don't need a 90-degree spine. You can get by without it. Option number one. Option number two is another Mora. This is probably by far my most favorite of my Moras, and this is one that has been with me everywhere from central Utah to southern Utah to the high Uintas. This is the Mora 911, and they no longer make this in the States. They may still release this version, I think, in Europe, possibly, but I think they actually discontinued this, and I'll tell you why. Because this knife was an excellent knife, and before Mora went all crazy and started branding everything Bushcraft so that they could sell more product, they came out with this. And this is the Bushcraft Black. But I want you to look at this, okay? Actually, let me see if I can do it like this. Look at the handles on that. It's the same flipping handle. So what they did is they basically morphed the 911, but then they branded it Bushcrafty, put a thicker blade on it. I think this is 30 mil, right around 1/8 of an inch, carbon steel, Scandi grind on both of them. And yeah, so what you could pick up for around $11 to $12, which I think I got this one for $11 to $12 all those years ago, now you're jumping upwards of around, I think these run you maybe around $32 to $38 now for pretty much the same knife. A little bit more robust in the steel and a 90-degree edge, so you get a little bit of benefit, but still same little plastic sheath. So here's the sheath to the Bushcraft Black. Okay, and here is the sheath to the 911. It's pretty much the same sheath, although the Bushcraft Black blade is a little bit longer. But again, you just can't go wrong with a Mora knife for wanting something that can just get the job done. Yes, they're not full tang, but you also don't need a full tang knife either. I know, I've already talked about this in another video. You don't need a full tang knife. A full tang knife is great, don't get me wrong, but you don't need a full tang knife. Okay, what do we have here? Oh yeah, here's another fun little knife. This is the cold steel drop forged Hunter in 52-100 full flat grind. This has been modded. You can pick these up for around $40, and I'm telling you, these are great little knives. Except they come with a really obnoxious coating. For those of you that know me, I freaking hate coatings on knives. Can't stand coatings on knives. So I take some time to strip those off and then force a patina. This one I actually sharpen the spine to 90 degrees so that it can scrape and strike, and then I wrapped the handle in paracord and then threw a couple inner tube Ranger bands on it just to make it a little bit more grippy. But a little knife like this works exceptional. Comes in a pretty cheap little plastic sheath, but it gets the job done. Okay, retained your knife, belt attachment, Velcro and a snap, so you can take it off the belt without having to remove or undo your belt. But that's also another little knife. So got your two Moras that I picked up for around 10 to 12 bucks a piece. Then you jump up to the Bushcraft Black. That's gonna run you a little bit over 30. This one is $40, but all full tang. This thing is a tank. It's got some heft to it. But if you're looking for a great little performer, you cannot go wrong with the drop forged cold steel Hunter. So there's that one. Now if you jump up, I think this one is around $70. I got this one from Lamnia.com. Now I have heard some things that because of the whole idiotic tariff situation that's going on right now, that in some of the forums that I'm a member of said that a order that came from Lamnia, when it got to the States, they ended up having to pay some type of an additional surcharge because some of the product that was sent was manufactured in Asia, which is a complete joke. Now, I don't know if that's the case with all of their stuff that they send, but at least with this member, that was the case with the order that he had. He had a tarp that was manufactured, I think, in Vietnam, and then something else that was manufactured in China, and he ended up paying almost what he spent for the products to get them delivered. So this little knife here is an EPU Puukko, and this is exclusive to Lamnia, and I think this one cost me $68. And again, just comes in your traditional Scandinavian sheath. You can wear it on a belt. I just, again, turn them into little neck knife configurations. Birch handle, carbon steel blade. I think this is 80 CRV2. It's just a Lauren Matelli blade. And then your birch bark handle, which is very grippy and very velvety. And again, I did have to mod this knife. This kind of, you can still kind of see it here. It's a little bit of a trailing point. I've kind of taken that down and I've squared off the spine. I don't really care for the whole hammer forged look, I will be honest. Just, yeah, I don't know why they do that other than aesthetics, to try to make it look more cool, maybe. But again, this is not a full tang knife. It's peened at the bottom. So you've got brass, birch bark, peen. So this is just your standard Scandinavian encapsulated rat tang. But a little knife like this weighs nothing, and this is a solid performer if you're not going to beat it to death. Why people want to beat their knives to death, I have no idea, other than they like to beat their knives to death. $68, $70 on this one. And great retention on that sheath. It's not coming out. Very lightweight package. I love that little finish blade. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about a couple knives I like that are not Rob Evans knives. Again, my preference will always be one of my Rob Evans tools, like this or some of the others that I have. But I picked up this one, and I'm not exactly sure. I know the maker, his knives are a little bit more pricey, but this is a Dead Pines Puukko. This is a style that he no longer makes. I reached out to him when I picked this up, actually on trade from a member of a forum. He was not a huge lover of the Puukko style blade, and this is like right down my alley. If you're familiar with the Tapio Workala Puukko, this is exactly what this is modeled off of, to the best of my judgment in looking at the design. So you've got kind of your teardrop handle. This is made out of 1084. When I got it in trade, I cleaned up the edge and slightly reprofiled it and put a nice working edge on that. I think this was mostly just probably sitting around in the dude's drawer. He said he never really used it. He said it was new and unused, which was not the case. This probably had changed hands with probably a couple other people. But yeah, of my non-Rob Evans knives, I love this Dead Pine Knives Puukko. And I don't know what it would cost, because again, I picked it up in trade, but his stuff that I've seen in his Instagram is usually going for, you know, anywhere from $200 to $25, depending on the type of blade you're wanting him to make. So not sure what this would be. If I were to put a value on that, probably, I don't know, 150, 160 maybe. Anyways, comes in a traditional Scandinavian style sheath, kind of like your Tommy Puukko, and then it's built for neck configuration. Okay, and then I've got this one. I found this one, actually. I got a really good deal on this. This was discounted through DLT Trading. This is the BHK, or Blind Horse Knives, Sisu Puukko. They're completely out of stock. I think Blind Horse Knife, actually it's not Blind Horse Knives now, it's Battle Horse Knives. It used to be Blind Horse Knives, kind of when LT Wright and Blind Horse kind of, they, I don't know, split off, did their own thing. But this reminds me a lot of the Rob Evans MK2, except the MK2 is a much better knife in my opinion, but this one ain't that bad. It does have more of a pronounced finger guard, which I'm not a fan of, but the profile being nice and slicey, a zero grind. I did put a slight micro bevel on that, convexed. Just found that it worked better because it's a much higher, probably 10, maybe 11 degrees on each side. But this little knife is a gem to work with too. And it comes in a leather sheath. Oh yeah, and I think I got this one for right around 140, believe it or not. I think you can still get these through Battle Horse Knives, but if you order them, I think without the sheath, they want right around 180 or 200. So anyways, why do I think you don't need to spend a lot of knife on, start again. Why do I think you don't need to spend a lot of money on a knife? Well, for a variety of reasons. It's a tool like any other tool. The thing that I would say is make sure that it's not cheap. There's a big difference between cheap and inexpensive. You can get some pretty expensive cheap knives that suck, that aren't going to do very well for you. But you can find some very inexpensive, great knives that will do everything that you want to do depending on what you're wanting the knife to accomplish. So if I go back to like my little 911, this thing can feather stick, it can do some light batoning, it can notch, it just is nice and has a nice, I give up. It's got a nice pointy profile so that you can process wood and poke yourself in the eye if you're not careful. Clean out between your fingernails and in your toenails. Maybe scratch your, well, I'm not even gonna try that. The most important thing I would say is, you know, I have gotten some crap from people watching my videos saying, why the crap would you spend so much on a Rob Evans knife or an LT Wright knife or blah, 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 blah. You know, all the different reasons. And they usually will say something like, did you know that you could buy like 10 Moras for the price of that knife, or you can get 20 Moras for the price of that knife, and maybe a great saw or whatever. It's completely irrelevant, because value to me is what you're willing to pay for something. There are some knives out there that I would not be willing to pay for that look like great knives, and people will dump a ton of money on them. For me, no. For a Rob Evans knife, yeah, because I've used his knives and they are great tools and they work, and I think that they're worth every penny. That's just kind of like, you know, do I need a razor to shave my face? No, I could use a potato peeler if I really wanted to. But is it going to work as well as a razor? Think about that. Same for tools, okay? Sometimes when you step up in a custom tool where a little bit more attention, in fact, not a little bit, but a lot more attention to detail is given to the design and the profile and the materials, this tool's not going to fail you if you know what you're doing. I mean, if you go to try to dismantle a tank with it and pound it through cinder blocks and all the other silly nonsense that some people do out there, then yeah. I mean, don't put your knife through abuse that it shouldn't take. But if you have a nice tool and you treat it the way that the tool should be treated in the application that the tool should be used, this thing will outlive you. Same thing with the Mora. Like I said, I've done everything I need to do with this little 911. And outside of maintaining the edge, okay, yeah, the plastic handle maybe gets little scuffs and dings and stuff like that, but like this knife has got to be probably pushing 16, 17 years. I'd have to go back. Let's see. Yeah, probably even longer than that. Anyways, now I'm getting off on a tangent and I've lost my train of thought. But you don't need to spend a lot of money for a great tool that will serve you well. And you may be of the mindset, well, I want to spend less for a knife so that I can pick up a hatchet or a saw or a tarp or other gear, handkerchiefs, nosebleed kit, Band-Aid for my little pinky finger, a Pathfinder cup, a sharp and pointy stick. Whatever the gear is that you're looking for, you may find that it's more value to go with something less expensive. Again, not cheap, but less expensive but highly functional than to spend a lot of money in just a knife. no different than anything else. I mean, I'm not going to give somebody crap because they choose to drive a Ferrari. If they find value in driving a Ferrari, that's great. That's completely up to them. I just don't know why in the bushcraft community there's so many people willing to give so many people crap for spending what they think they shouldn't be spending for a knife. It's like, dude, nobody's twisting your arm. If you don't want to spend that for a high quality tool, then go with something less expensive. It's completely fine. So anyways, I thought this might be an interesting discussion to show you some options that are out there if you're not wanting to spend a lot of money on a knife. Just the whole thought process related to it. There's a lot of great gear out there, even going beyond the realm of just knives. Great gear that if you watch, you can pick up a lot of the time secondhand. Like for example, this Rob Evans bush tool in RWL 34, I picked up at, well, not quite half the value if I would have ordered something like this brand new, but pretty dang close. The gentleman said that the handle didn't fit his hand as well as he had hoped, and put it out there, and I was like, man, I will pick that up. That's great value to me. Even if it was full price, it would have been great value because I'm familiar with Rob's tools and I love Rob's tools. So maybe leave in the comments. There's lots of different knives out there, lots of different brands. What works well for you? What inexpensive gear items have you used that you find give you great value, that are highly functional? Drop them in the comments and share your thoughts on that. I'd be interested to know what knives have been go-to for you that have been more on the less expensive side, as well as if you have something that's really high-end that you enjoy using. You can add that in the comments too. This is AJ with Blackhawk Bushcraft. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I appreciate the likes and subscribes, and until next video, I'll talk to you later.